She fell 2 miles from the sky. She landed in the Amazon. She was 17 years old. She was alone. And then the real ordeal began. On December 24, 1971, Christmas Eve, LANSA Flight 508 departed Lima, Peru, carrying 92 passengers and crew toward Pucallpa. Juliane Koepcke was sitting with her mother, a biologist named Maria, who had been her companion, her teacher, and her closest friend for 17 years. They were traveling to spend Christmas with Juliane's father at his research station deep in the jungle. It was the last seat available on the flight. Maria had been nervous about it. She had wanted to take a different route. At 12 noon, the plane entered a severe thunderstorm over the Peruvian Amazon. The turbulence was violent. The aircraft began to break apart. Within minutes, at an altitude of approximately 10,000 feet, a lightning strike tore the plane open. Juliane, still strapped to her row of seats, was thrown into the open sky above the jungle. She fell for 2 miles, still in her seat, still conscious for part of it. She later described a sensation of rotating in the air, the jungle canopy far below her, the sound of the wind enormous, and then suddenly quiet. She lost consciousness before she landed. She woke up on the forest floor, alone. Her mother was gone. The other passengers were gone. Around her, the Amazon rainforest, vast and indifferent, doing what it always does, regardless of what falls into it from the sky. She had a broken collarbone. Her right eye was swollen almost shut. She had a deep cut in her arm that she could not properly see or treat. She was wearing a sleeveless dress and one sandal. She had a small bag of candy, Christmas chocolates meant for her father, that had fallen with her. She waited 1 day. She called for her mother. No answer came. Then she remembered what her father had told her, what both her parents, scientists who had spent their lives in exactly this kind of terrain, had taught her without knowing they were teaching her to survive. Follow the water. Small streams lead to larger streams. Larger streams lead to rivers. Rivers lead to people. She found a small stream and began to walk. What followed over the next 11 days is one of the most extraordinary survival stories in the history of aviation disasters. And it is extraordinary not because Juliane was fearless, but because she was methodical in conditions designed to produce panic. She was afraid. She was in pain. Her wound had become infested with maggots. She could feel them moving inside the tissue of her arm, and she had no way to clean it properly. She used the techniques her father had described for removing parasites from animals. She poured gasoline from a small boat she found on the riverbank into the wound, forcing the maggots out one by one with a stick. She waded through rivers she knew might contain caimans and piranhas. She walked through jungle that offered no path, no landmark, no indication that any other human being had ever been there. She slept on beaches beside the river, eating the Christmas chocolates sparingly, catching small animals when she could, drinking river water. She saw bodies of other passengers from the flight, still strapped to their seats, embedded in the jungle floor around her. She did not stop. On the 11th day, she found a small boat with a motor on a riverbank, and beside it, a path leading to a shelter. She waited. When 3 loggers arrived, they found a girl who emerged from the jungle with maggots visible in a wound in her arm, a broken collarbone, barely able to stand, dressed in what remained of a sleeveless dress. They treated her wound, fed her, and took her by boat to a larger settlement where she could receive medical care. She had walked and waded approximately 35 miles through the Amazon rainforest in 11 days, guided by a stream and the lessons of her parents who had loved the jungle enough to teach her to survive it. She was the only survivor of LANSA Flight 508. Of the 92 people on board, she was the one who lived. Her mother's body was found 12 days after the crash. Maria had survived the fall as well. She had been found near the crash site, still alive, but too badly injured to move. She had lived for several days before dying of her injuries, alone in the jungle, a few kilometers from where her daughter had woken up and started walking. If she had known, If she had searched rather than walked downstream, there is no answer to what would have followed, and Juliane has carried that particular silence for 50 years. She returned to Germany, recovered, and eventually returned to Peru, to the Amazon, to the jungle that had kept her and taken everyone else. She became a biologist, like her parents. She earned her doctorate in mammalogy. She spent her professional life studying the bats of the Peruvian Amazon, in the same forest that had swallowed Flight 508 on Christmas Eve 1971. She has said in interviews over the decades that she does not know why she survived and the others did not. She has no answer that satisfies her. The jungle made no distinction between the 91 who died and the one who walked out. It was not mercy, not selection, not justice. It was the particular accident of where she landed, what her parents had taught her, and 11 days of refusing to stop moving. She is still alive. She still studies bats in the Amazon. The forest that took her mother gave her back her life, and she gave that life back to the forest. She was 17 years old when she fell 2 miles from the sky. She has never fully come back down.